people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Okay, we'll start with this. It's gonna be a weird one. The EBU have ordered a rematch between Jasmina Zapotoczna and Maisie Rose Courtenay for Jasmina's EBU flyweight title that she last defended this month on the 15th. Jasmina gave Maisie Rose her first professional loss 3 fights ago. 3 fights later, Maisie has picked up 2 wins, and now she's become Jasmina's mandatory challenger for the EBU. The reason I say it's a weird one is because I wouldn't begrudge Jasmina dropping the EBU title to skip out on this rematch, which profits her nothing. Sporting a professional record of 10 wins with 1 loss and no draws, no recorded knockouts, having never been knocked out in 11 professional bouts, she beat Maisie Rose so handily that I just don't see a point, don't see a reason to do a second fight. And in the 2 fights that Maisie Rose has had since that loss to Jasmina, I don't think that she's improved so much that a rematch would go any different. Maisie sports a professional record of 8 wins with 1 loss and no draws, no recorded knockouts, having never been knocked out in 9 professional bouts. She used to be promoted by Matchroom, but I don't think that's the case anymore. And because neither fighter is with a major promotional outfit, and thus there is no major promoter to pick up and pay for this fight, I don't think it's a fight that Jasmina should lose a lot of time on. Onward and upward, Maisie Rose was last in action at the beginning of this year opposite the ring Jasmina Nad, who she decisioned over 6 rounds, and it's the only fight she's had this year. Before that, she was in action in December of last year opposite the ring Claudia Ferenzi, who she also decisioned. Those are the 2 wins that she picked up, and look at what kind of opponents those were. Claudia has 117 losses, and Jasmina Nad has 33. And you're telling me that because Maisie beat those 2, Jasmina has to fight her again? Jasmina was last in action in France against Justine Lallemand not but a few weeks ago, and she won a majority decision against her. Before that, she beat unbeaten Chloe Watson, and before that, she beat unbeaten Maisie Rose. How'd she beat her? So Maisie Rose is a bit of a runt. Short, stumpy fighter, very aggressive, likes to come forward, likes to crowd the pocket, and Jasmina was able to beat her by sticking and moving and staying on the outside, walking her into punches. You know the drill. It was pretty one-sided. So one-sided, I just don't see a need for a second fight. I don't actually want to see a rematch until Maisie fights some quality opponents, some quality people, and really shows that she has improved. Because fighting 2 journey women with upside-down records, more losses than wins, that doesn't prove anything. EBU title is a starter belt anyway. It's a belt that you usually fight for en route to fighting for a full title, and I think that Jasmina is about ready to fight for a full title. I think she is also in possession of a WBA title, a secondary one. She comes in at number 5 in the WBA's ranked standings behind former champion Marlon Esparza, Adriana Pinheiro, and Ayelen Granadino. Ayelen is the highest ranked contender right now in their ranked standings, and a fight with any of them would make a lot more sense than running it back with Maisie. Maisie's name doesn't even appear anywhere in their rankings. So it's not a fight I think Jasmina should lose a lot of time on. She's got to start thinking about world title honors and fighting for a full world title. That parting ways with the EBU, it's not a big deal. That's a starter belt anyway. It's not the kind of belt you're intended to hang on to for a long time. She's proven that she can at least compete at European level. Now she has to prove she can compete at world level. So yeah, it's a bit of a weird one, but I wouldn't mind if Jasmina dropped that title and fought somebody else. Now for more stupid, childish shit from the Schofields. In the lightweight division, either Floyd Schofield or his father, whoever runs the account, took to his social media and said, "We want to fight Gervonta Davis. We want to fight the best and tank his levels above Shakur. This is a major step up from Shakur, but we are ready," on the premise that they are in position. Floyd Schofield is in position to challenge for the WBA title. They consider this a step up from fighting Shakur, except that they never fought Shakur, and they're likely never going to fight Tank either, because we all know Tank is all wrapped up with his latest domestic abuse case. And even if he wasn't, if he would have got to have the Jake Paul fight earlier this month, he wasn't going to come back to lightweight, he wasn't going to fight Floyd. In all likelihood, he was going to drop the WBA title, and the Schofields know that, which is what makes this childish and stupid. Pretending you're gonna fight a guy that you know is not available, the whole fucking world knows it, and bringing up the name of Shakur Stevenson, who is all but done in the men's lightweight division. By now, it's not a secret to anyone that Shakur is moving up to 140. He's about to fight Teofimo, who is a step up from you. Is this your way of trying to offset that Shakur Stevenson has moved on? He's about to be part of a major fight. A big fight. Bigger than anything you're doing, while you still celebrate that you knocked out Tevin Farmer, who was coming off of 3 losses?
Huh?
They're not doing anything worthwhile, anything worth talking about, so they start talking about somebody that is, Shakur Stevenson, making this childish, making this stupid, because if you really wanted to show him up, you would have fought him. You pretended to be sick, made up all sorts of wild stories in what was the buildup of what was supposed to be your fight with him. And through it all, what have you actually accomplished? Because nobody believes you were actually sick, like nobody believes you're about to fight Tank Davis. Shakur Stevenson has all but left the lightweight division and is unlikely to come back. Beyond the Teofimo Lopez fight that many anticipate he will win, he's likelier to move up after that than move down. The moment is past. The moment is gone. And Shakur Stevenson is no longer Floyd Schofield's problem that they need to keep bringing him up, trying to save face for a fight they ducked. Who they need to start worrying about is Cuba's own Andy Cruz, newly crowned WBO champion Abdullah Mason. Whoever ends up picking up Shakur Stevenson's old WBC title once he finally drops it, all the guys that are still there with them at lightweight, where they've done next to nothing but beat a guy who was coming off several losses. And these silly antics are not even an invention of Floyd Schofield himself so much as his father. Another one of these overbearing boxing dads that likes the camera time, likes the attention a little bit too much, except whatever attention is aimed your way is more about your son than you, but you'd never know it, how much they revel in it. He feels that attention is drying up, that Floyd Schofield is quickly fading into the background of obscurity because he doesn't have anything going on. There's no real reason to talk about Floyd Schofield right now because he's not doing anything, but they're willing to pretend. Let's pretend we're going to fight Gervonta. Let's hope somebody believes it. In all likelihood, what's going to happen is Gervonta will end up dropping the WBA title, at which point the Schofields will pick it up if they are still there, and then they will proceed to avoid every formidable challenge in the lightweight division, because that's the kind of team they are. More of the same. And that's the kind of business that Golden Boy Promotions does. I remember a long time ago, after Canelo Alvarez had lost to Dimitri Bivol, Oscar De La Hoya, in his own words, said that he would have never made that fight because Canelo lost, essentially giving the game away that he doesn't match his fighters tough and he doesn't want to. So when you think about Floyd Schofield, Oscar's not going to want to match him tough. He's not going to want to match him against Andy Cruz if he becomes IBF champion. He's not going to want to match him against Abdullah Mason. He'll match him baby soft while the Schofields name drop fighters that actually have something relevant going on to troll not only them, but the boxing community at large. This doesn't accomplish anything. It might get guys online like me talking about the Schofields, but it does nothing for their marquee value. Next in line to become email champions, maybe that might help. Not unless they fight somebody worth fighting and create actual excitement, organic excitement, which is what's missing from the American boxing scene. You wonder why we're always talking about boxing's decline in the United States, and it's because it's missing that element of danger and that element of excitement when the fighters were willing to roll the dice, where in many ways they had to. Where these days a fighter like Floyd Schofield would rather pretend to be sick so that he doesn't have to fight Shakur, so that he doesn't have to fight for a title, so he can instead wait at home for one to be emailed to him. Pussy. I don't need to put together a word sandwich about it. It's a lot of pussy shit, and a lot of the American fighters, they're comfortable in that. Way too comfortable. Boxing as a product, as a commodity, suffers for it. When the fighters aren't willing to roll the dice, the people aren't willing to watch, aren't willing to pay, aren't willing to stay, and neither are the networks. No excitement. But by all means, keep playing on your phone, keep playing on Twitter, and see if that gets you somewhere.
It's very dangerous, but Zurdo Ramirez is the best cruiserweight in the world, and this right here is going to be not only probably his toughest fight, but he's about to get defeated by Zurdo Ramirez. Well, Zurdo knows how to do everything. To me, David Benavidez is an incredible pound for pound, a ring pound for pound, but he's very good at doing what he's doing. I don't see nobody like making him have to adjust. Alex Golshevic, I believe I'm saying his last name right. He's the only one that fought him very well to me. Everybody else seemed to fight him a little bit, on his pace and let him do what he wants.
Veteran fighter turned trainer Malik Scotch, saying what you would expect him to say as a member of Zurdo's training team. He expects Zurdo to beat him, but the parallel that he drew, the guy he brought up, the guy whose name he butchered, Oleksandr Gvozdyk, former WBC light heavyweight champion, in Malik's opinion, is the fighter who fought David the best. And I would agree with that. Second best would have to be Caleb Plant while he still had steam in the engine. The first few rounds of that fight, the first half really, was all Caleb Plant until he gassed out, until he got tired. And those are the two guys who gave David the best fight. Now, what do they have in common?
They're both what?
They are, but what else they have in common is that they're both movers, they're both boxers. They're not artillery guys. They don't try to fight fire with fire, instead work around the fire.
Huh? What the fuck does this have to do with Zurdo?
Zurdo's plan of action for David Benavidez might be somewhat similar to what we saw from Gvozdyk, as Zurdo fancies himself a bit of a boxer now, a bit of a mover, a bit of a jabber. He changed his whole base style. Malik Scotch has something to do with that, as does Julian Chua. There's a legitimate argument that Malik Scotch successfully did with Zurdo Ramirez what he tried to do with Deontay Wilder. You'll notice that when Malik Scotch took on the role of Wilder's head trainer, he was trying to mold him into more of a boxer, more of a jabber. But by then it was too late. Deontay had settled into too many bad habits over the years, relying on the big right hand to bail him out of every single fight down on the cards. It was too late for Wilder to try to become something else, though not too late for Zurdo Ramirez. By the time Malik Scott becomes Wilder's head trainer, Wilder is an irreparably damaged fighter who's lost faith in himself and can't even throw the right hand with the same conviction that he used to, humbled by the two Tyson Fury fights, bullied by Joseph Parker, and mowed down by Zile Chang. There was nothing at that point that Malik Scotch could do for him, and being honest, I don't think Wilder was ever a good student in his prime. Even when he was in his prime, he wasn't a good student. Mark Breland let the cat out of the bag. Guy just doesn't listen, doesn't skip rope, doesn't do anything for his cardio, a myriad of problems. You can have a good teacher, but it doesn't really matter if you're a bad student. And that's part of the reason I think Malik was able to help Zurdo where he couldn't help Wilder. Wilder was a bad student.
Zurdo isn't.
You don't often see pressure fighters do the 180 that Zurdo Ramirez has done. Pressure guys usually stay pressure guys through the entirety of their careers, oftentimes to their own detriment, where Zurdo has been able to successfully turn it all around and become more of a boxer. And boxers are the guys that have characteristically given David the most problems. Caleb Plant was a boxer. He gave him a lot of problems in the first half of their fight. Oleksandr Gvozdyk,
He was a boxer too. Getting problems.
albeit a very old boxer, where Zurdo Ramirez is comparatively younger and fresher
And fatter.
Not what you would expect. That a fatter, fleshier Zurdo Ramirez is lighter on his feet and harder to catch than the one that we saw at 168. Than the one that we saw at 175 at Cruiser.
In spite of being fleshier, he looks faster. He looks more agile.
And I anticipate that his plan of action for David is gonna look something like Gvozdyk's, with a few shades of his old base style, because Zurdo Ramirez can still fight on the inside when he needs to. If he has to resort to that, he can. Where the fight becomes interesting is even though David Benavidez has his limitations, he does have his strengths. I think he's faster on the inside than Zurdo Ramirez. When stringing together combinations, David shows explosive hand speed. And on the inside, that might allow him to beat Zurdo to the punch. Ahead of the Anthony Yard fight, in my prediction video, I said, yeah, Anthony hits hard, but David is faster on the inside, and because of that, he'll beat him to the punch. I think the same applies to Zurdo. David will beat him to the punch on the inside. Alternatively, when May gets here, we'll get our first look at David Benavidez as a cruiserweight, carrying a lot more weight into a fight than he ever has in the past. Could be a good thing, could be a bad thing.
Oh, so?
Gotta acclimate to the weight, and carrying around that much weight in a fight, if you're not used to it, you could get tired.
You could gas out.
Separate scenario. Not having to boil down to 168, not having to boil down to 175, David could show up fresher than he ever has. Not emaciated, not depleted.
Huh?
Fighting at cruiserweight could do one of two things to David Benavidez. The added weight could slow him down, or not having to cut weight could feel reinvigorated. It could turn out to be David Benavidez's best weight. Which one it's going to be, we won't know until we see him. I mean, that's why it's called an intangible. It's hard to grasp until it actually happens. Though if I favor David Benavidez to win the fight, it's because there's more going on here than just a boxing match. Gilberto Zurdo Ramirez has been with Golden Boy Promotions long enough. They have to know that they're not going to turn this guy into a box office draw. They're not going to turn him into a pay-per-view attraction. He just doesn't have the charisma, doesn't have the following, the presence, whatever it is. He doesn't have it. David Benavidez, who's comparatively younger, bit more popular, Golden Boy Promotions might have more riding on a David Benavidez win than a Zurdo Ramirez win, because I don't think they would have given David access to their fighter without strings attached. Saying they're gonna rob Zurdo. I'm saying if they have to, they might. They're going through this whole thing with Ryan Garcia right now. Ryan, who says that his next fight will be his final fight at Golden Boy Promotions. If that turns out to be true, they need someone to replace him. Can't be Virgil. As much fun as Virgil's fights are, he's another guy with the personality of a warm bowl of oatmeal. It's not gonna be Virgil. Can't be the face of Golden Boy. Floyd Schofield, forget it. Enter David Benavidez, who I reiterate, Golden Boy Promotions would not have given David access to their champion without strings attached. I think we're on the eve of David's migration from PBC to Golden Boy. And that's why you think David's gonna beat him. Well, that's a part of it. David's hand speed, his relative size to Zurdo Ramirez, and their past experiences as sparring partners, that these two guys are familiar with each other, that's a part of it also. David and his team wouldn't have made it their mission to fight Zurdo instead of Dimitri and instead of Artur unless they were confident that he could win. To David, this is the lesser of two evils. To them, this is the more winnable fight. Where they would have arrived at that conclusion is the sparring sessions they used to have. Either David Benavidez beats Zurdo and becomes the face of Golden Boy Promotions, or they score it a draw so that they can get another fight out of them. Let them do their own little thing inside their own little bubble. But what I don't think is that Zurdo's gonna win. It's either David beats him or they score it a draw. That's how I see it.